Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or indeed good evening, depending on your time zone and depending on when you are watching this. It is Thursday, the 28th of May, 2020. On this day in 1830, US President Andrew Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act, denying Native Americans their land rights and forcibly relocating them. Charming man. I'm James Innes, and this is my YouTube show, The Jobs Guru. I am delighted to see you here for today's episode, but please do think about subscribing so that you don't miss out on the next episode. In today's show, I'm going to be taking a look at the latest jobs, career and employment news. I will as always be covering a question from one of my viewers. I'll be talking about how to win a promotion. I'll be examining the importance of tailoring your CV and how to adapt your CV for every application. And next in the interview question series, I'll be asking, what would you do if the sun died out? Blimey. If you have any questions or comments as you watch, then do please let me have them below. And if you like what you see, then do please give it that YouTube thumbs up. Now, before I go any further with today's show, you may be wondering why I'm dressed like a waiter in Balmoral Castle. Now, in the old days, there was Dress Down Fridays, when office staff would dress a little more casually to mark the end of the working week. These days, in pandemic times with so many people working from home, or WFH as it's now called, working from home, WFH, not to be confused with WTF, of course, some genius created Dress Up Fridays. Sorry? It's not Friday. No, that's true. Although it might be by the time you watch this, of course. No, indeed, it is Thursday today, as at time of filming. But I don't do my show on Fridays, so this is the next best thing for me. Anyway, first, as usual, I have had a good read of all the main newspaper headlines, and in particular the workplace, jobs, careers, and employment-related headlines. In general news, after an impressive 5 days at number 1, Dom Cummings has finally slipped down the charts. He is no longer headline news, which I think must be a relief for us all, not since Wet, Wet, Wet hogged the number 1 slot with Love Is All Around, and were finally knocked off months later, have we been so relieved, in fact. In workplace news, there are some interesting headlines out there today, certainly. The FT's work and careers section, for example, headlines with, "Will ageism get worse in the post-pandemic workplace?" Another headline which caught my eye was in the Telegraph, kind of related. "Pandemic forces 1.5 million people to delay retirement." The biggest headline, obviously the news that EasyJet is to cut up to 30% of its workforce, up to 4,500 people potentially. But I want to focus on just one story today, a piece by Ali Fortescue in Sky News, okay, for Sky News. Coronavirus, lockdown increasing the gender wage gap as more women lose their jobs than men. She adds, women are also more likely to take on the additional childcare responsibilities and housework. Now, Ali reports that mothers who were in paid work before lockdown are 47% more likely than fathers to have permanently lost their jobs or quit, according to research from the IFS, the Institute for Fiscal Studies. Now, I have written and said much about the gender wage gap or the gender pay gap over the years. It's something I feel rather passionately about. Passionate in the sense that I'd like us all to get on and bloody eradicate it. It's like a wasp nest at a barbecue. It's in nobody's best interest. Gender pay gap, well, it's been described as appalling, obscene, absolutely outrageous, and by Theresa May, do you remember her? She called it a burning injustice. But what exactly is it? We hear a lot about it, but it's often misunderstood. Well, for a start, I'm sorry to say that the UK is one of the worst offenders, at least in Europe, with a typical gender pay gap of 18%. Now, to put that in the context of the average pay packet, this means some people are earning an extra 5k or so each year just for being male. It's not just about Gary Lineker and Kirsty Walk or Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper for that matter. Now, I don't want to send my male viewers off on a massive guilt trip here, but do spare a thought for the ladies. How would you feel if you went to work every day alongside a bunch of women and found out that they all earned more than you for doing the exact same job, just because of their gender? My guess is that you might be a little, shall we say, miffed. But this is a simplification, and it may even be a gross oversimplification, because the gender pay gap it's not just about men being paid more than some women for doing the same work. That, whilst decidedly illegal, is nonetheless a significant factor, yes. But the gender pay gap is a whole lot more complex than that. It's a whole lot more nuanced. If anything, the routine flouting of the equal pay for equal work regulations, that muddies the water, obscuring a much more important issue, because the gender pay gap is critically not just about rates of pay in and of themselves, but it's about men being significantly overrepresented in the best paid jobs and the accompanying and well-known shortage of women in senior positions. The higher the rank in an organisation, the fewer women there will be. And if the gender pay gap is to be properly addressed, this is definitely the most important and the most difficult area to tackle. It's not just about what is fair or unfair, it's about distancing ourselves from the errors of the past, combating sexism in one of its purest and most insidious forms, and promoting vital diversity in the workplace. So, on to that question from one of my viewers. Today's question has been sent in by Jack, 29 years old, from Belfast in Northern Ireland. So, dear Jobs Guru, he says. That's very sweet, Jack, but only my mother calls me Jobs Guru. My friends call me James. Dear Jobs Guru, I currently work in retail, and I've held the same position for 4 years. Whilst I work very hard and like the company I work for, I seem to be missed for promotion every time. I have asked for feedback and always been told that another person was better suited for the role. How do I make myself stand out from the crowd and get promoted? Do I have to leave my company to get that next step on the ladder, or should they see how loyal I am? Well, Jack, 29 from Belfast, that is a good question. It's an interesting question. It's a good question. Now, you've definitely done the right thing in trying to get some feedback from your employer. You absolutely must identify and resolve any blockers which might be holding you back. For example, are there any little holes in your skill set, any aspects of your performance which might be a problem? But it's really not good enough for them to just tell you that someone else was better suited to the role. You need to know why they were better suited. If they can't give you a clear and straight answer to that, then they may just be fobbing you off, and it might be time for you to consider moving on elsewhere. Now, I have to take your age into account. You say you're 29, so you've been in that job since you were, do the math here, James, it's not that complicated, 25 now. That's a significant proportion of your overall career to date, indeed of your life. And I'd be very worried that your career is starting to stagnate as a result of this lack of promotion. You say you work hard, and you clearly seem to enjoy working with this company, but it's not getting you anywhere fast. Now, it is, I'm afraid, an unfortunate fact of life that employers can become complacent and take even their best and most loyal employees for granted. Often, whether it's a promotion you're after or even just a pay rise, the best solution can be quite simply to jump ship and get a new job elsewhere. Certainly, never allow your career to stagnate, or you're just setting yourself up for major problems in the future, and you could end up paying a very hefty price. Now, I'm always open to interesting new questions from my viewers, get confused. So if you have a workplace, I have readers and viewers, but in this case it's my viewers. So if you have a workplace, jobs, careers, or employment-related question for me, then do please type it into that comments section below, and I may well feature it in a future episode of this show. And if I do, then one of my limited edition collector's item, Jobs Guru coffee mugs, will be yours. Works equally as well, if not better, for tea, of course. Okay, so then, each day, as well as answering one viewer's specific question, I also look into a specific issue which has been raised by a number of different viewers. And today, leading neatly on from Jack's question, in fact, I shine my spotlight on how to get a promotion. Clearly, a lot of people have been sitting at home over the past couple of months and thinking, yeah, reassessing their careers and thinking, right, it's really time for me to move onwards and upwards, isn't it? Now, achieving promotion is essentially about consistent, strong performance over time. But in the run-up to your seeking promotion, you'll need to make even more effort than usual. Behave like the new Brum you once were. Give 110%. Strive for excellence. Seize every opportunity to learn something new and to develop and enhance your skills and your knowledge base. If it's all possible, start taking on new and additional responsibilities within your existing role. Show initiative. Show commitment. And do update your CV. At the very least, it'll help to get you in the right frame of mind to successfully tackle the job promotion interview. Make it easy for the organisation to promote you. Make it into a logical, sensible and beneficial decision for them. Make it the business case for it. Make it the right decision. So now, on to the main topic that I wish to discuss with you today. Tailoring your CV, how to adapt your CV for every application. Now, whilst many people do use a general CV designed to suit any position they're applying for, greater success will always be achieved by tailoring your CV according to the needs of the specific role for which you're applying. It's astonishing, in fact, how many people use exactly the same CV for every single application they make. And it stands to reason that every job and every organisation is different, and every CV should therefore also be different, even if the differences are only subtle. I believe you'll find it much easier to create an initial master CV, yes, but you then tweak and adapt that as necessary, rather than, you don't start off by writing your CV with a specific vacancy in mind. You start with a master copy, but then do tweak and adjust. Some people will recommend that you should write your CV virtually from scratch for each and every application you make. I suppose that is an ideal, but I am pretty sure you'll agree with me that there are, unfortunately, just not enough hours in the day or days in the week or weeks in the month. So unless you're considering applying for 2 or more vastly different fields, then having one master CV, which can then be easily adapted, is the perfect starting point. And if you are, going for 2 quite different sectors, have 2 master CVs and adapt each of them accordingly. Now, what's important here is to try to see things from the recruiter's point of view. The task of the recruiter, and the ATS, if they're using one, is to identify the best matches between the vacancy and the candidates. They're not looking to find you the job that is best suited to you. They're looking to find a candidate that is best suited to their vacancy. So you need to look at your CV from the recruiter's perspective. Instead of taking your skills and experience as a starting point, your starting point needs to be the requirements of the vacancy in question. Too many people fall into the trap of focusing on themselves and not on the needs of their prospective employer. Recruiters are not interested in your life in and of itself. They're purely interested in whether or not there's a match between your background and the requirements of the role in question. You can even go beyond this and take a close look at the organisation itself. You know, what sort of organisation is it? What's its ethos? What sort of culture does it have? What type of people does it employ? Why do you want to work for this organisation in particular? Showing an organisation that you would fit into their workplace is a very good habit to get into when tailoring your CV. And you may ask yourself, you may not, but is it really worth the effort? Many people think this is all too much effort. You know, they're scared that if they tailor their CV to a particular vacancy, it might come across the recruiters as if they've made too much effort to please. As if it was possible to make too much effort to please, you know? But on the contrary, surveys show that around a quarter of recruiters will in fact deliberately give preferential treatment to CVs they feel have been tailored specifically to the vacancy in question. In a world where everyone is constantly bombarded with impersonal spam, the fact that you've taken the effort to tailor your application to better suit the vacancy in question will not go unrewarded. It shows that you really are interested in this opportunity and you're not just throwing your CV off all over the place. For every advertised position, there's going to be a considerable amount of competition. The employer could easily have over 100 applications to deal with, maybe 1,000. If you take just a few minutes to tailor your CV, and your cover letter of course, then the odds of you making it past that initial sift and into the hands of someone looking to shortlist for interview should very much increase in your favour. A carefully targeted CV can easily mean the difference between success and failure. As always, I'd really welcome any comments, thoughts, questions, ideas, feedback that you may have in the comments section below. And whoever writes my favourite comment of the week will become the proud owner of a limited edition collector's item Jobs Guru Biro. You know you want one, don't you? Now, as well as being the founder and the chairman of the James Innes Group, which trades in the UK as the CV Centre, I'm also the UK's best-selling careers author. Amongst my titles is the Interview Question and Answer book. I don't have a copy to hand, actually. I really should keep a copy to hand. I'm sure we can have one up on the screen. It is, as they say, available in all good bookshops, or if you'd like a signed copy from yours truly, then just visit www.jamesinnes.group. Anyway, in each episode of my YouTube show, I'm taking questions from that book and looking at how to answer them. All this week, I'm taking those questions from the chapter I entitled Weird and Wonderful Questions. So here's today's. What would you do if the sun died out? Similar questions include, what would you do if the world ended? What would you do if time stopped? Back to the question in hand. What would you do if the sun died out? Now, yes, at first, it does sound like an utterly ridiculous question, but I will personally admit to believing this to be one of the best interview questions ever, because it really is a very hard one to answer, and so it reveals inevitably an awful lot about the candidate, their general knowledge, their ability to think on their feet, their powers of reasoning, their sense of humour, etc. So, how to answer? Well, the bad news is that you'd probably die too. Without the sun, most life on Earth would disappear pretty rapidly, including the vast majority, if not all, of mankind. Would any humans survive? Well, some surely could, for a while, but not indefinitely, and unless you're President Trump, or you're probably going to be one of those who doesn't last more than a week. But what is meant by died out? Does it simply stop shining? Does it vanish completely, with obvious gravitational repercussions? As it happens, it's theoretically impossible for the sun to just stop shining, or to vanish. When the sun actually dies, in the sense of burning up all of its hydrogen fuel supply, it will take the Earth with it. In fact, life on Earth will be destroyed well before the sun first expands into a red giant, swallowing up the whole planet, before finally collapsing into a white dwarf. Because we've only got about another billion years to go before all the water on the planet evaporates as the sun becomes just 10% brighter than it is at present. But hey, you can get a lot done in a billion years. Kind of puts life into perspective, this, doesn't it? Yeah. Anyway, enough science for today. As usual, I have plucked a little example answer from my book for you. Find the right piece of paper. I would think that if the sun died out, then I'd probably die out too. I think it'd just be a matter of time. Depends on what precise you mean by died out, of course, but generally speaking, without the sun, life on Earth would be very severely compromised, and especially so for Homo sapiens. It'd be a good time to be a microorganism living in the Earth's crust, I reckon. Okay, cute answer. Now, I'm currently updating the interview question and answer book, working on a brand new edition, the 3rd edition. So if you have any interview questions which you think I should be considering for possible inclusion, please do let me know in the comments section below. And if I use your question, obviously there'll be a free signed copy of that new edition for you. So now that is pretty much all for today, and indeed for this week. I'll be back on Tuesday. Remember, this show is Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday each, and almost every week. Sometimes I do take a week off. Just 2 more things before I sign off. First, the usual but important requests. Do check me out on social media and connect, follow, sign up, whatever. If you have any questions or comments about this episode, about the show in general, or indeed about life, the universe, the solar system, suns, stars, whatever, do please let me have them below. If you like this episode, then do please hit it with that YouTube thumbs up. If you've kindly given me a thumbs up, then do think about subscribing to my channel so you don't miss out on the next episode. If you've already subscribed, remember to ring that bell to be automatically informed with new notifications from YouTube when I upload new episodes. And if you've already rung that bell, can I just say, for the record, how much I love you. Finally, let me tell you what is happening in the next episode. In Tuesday's show, I'll be chatting about a variety of things, including how to deal with 10 common and potentially tricky CV situations in the most effective way possible, the most positive way. I won't say more than that for now. And in the interview question series, I'm going to be carrying on with more weird and wonderful ones, and we'll be asking, what do you do when there is no answer? Gosh, good luck with that one. I do hope you'll tune in. Thank you for watching today. Keep safe and be well, my friends. Goodbye.